Hey everyone, thank you for joining us. I have a very special guest here. I have Dr. Horst Filtzer, who's going to be talking to us about electrolyzed reduced water, aka Kangen water. Hi, Dr. Filtzer. How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
And thank you for joining us. I know you're a busy guy, so I just wanted to ask you a few questions that, with your experience, and if you can tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, my background is basically in general and vascular surgery. I went to medical school at Harvard Medical School, and I trained there as a vascular and general surgeon. And then in 1973, I became the assistant director of the Department of Surgery at the Cambridge Hospital, Cambridge, Massachusetts, and on the faculty of Harvard Medical School. And basically spent my entire career there. And then when I got to be 65, because I didn't have tenure, I had to retire. And so I did, and came out to Arizona ostensibly to retire, but that didn't work out too well. I found that retiring is, sort of boring beyond belief. And so I went back and practiced vascular surgery for a while and finally gave that up because of a neck surgery and a problem with my left hand. I stopped operating and started a wound care clinic. And about 2008, actually, I was still practicing. I did an aortic aneurysm on a person who turned out to be a classmate from my college.
Oh, wow.
And, after the surgery, because the guy lived in Las Vegas and I lived in Arizona, and I wanted him to be close by, even though we didn't do major invasive surgery at that time. Still, I wanted him around. And I said, stay at my house. I'm by myself. So there you go. And he brings this machine, and I have no clue what it is until he explains it to me and puts it on my sink and turns it on. And I think kind of the rest is history. When I drank the water, I noted a profound difference between ordinary tap water. The water in Arizona, at least where we live, is very hard, very high mineral, calcium, and magnesium content. You can't live without a whole house system. So that difference in taste alone, and the other thing, of course, was the rapidity in which it was absorbed. You didn't get that slushy feeling. You felt like it went right into your bloodstream, and I could clearly tell it did something. I actually bought a machine that day.
Wow.
And kind of the rest is history. I made a DVD about my experience, and that kind of went viral. And the next thing I know, they asked me to become the medical consultant for Enagic USA, and that's what I've done ever since.
Wow.
And of course, I still have a practice, not of surgery, but I have a big wound care practice here in Northern Arizona.
Wow. And correct me if I'm wrong, a little birdie told me you were the first surgeon to install the stent.
No. I was one of the first surgeons in New England to put stents into the arterial system. Coronary stents were before and still are, and I never did any heart surgery, just peripheral vascular. Every blood vessel except the heart.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I wanted to talk, and just to remind everyone, we're talking about Kangen water, electrolyzed reduced water. And Dr. Filtzer, you came out, does this look familiar to you?
Right.
It's sort of our holy grail, and it's a book that you came out with. Can you just please elaborate on the book? What was the motive behind this book, and what are the studies that were found in this book?
Okay, let's start first of all with a couple of things which have to do basically with how Enagic and Kangen water were marketed. And we market it as antioxidant. a water that has microclustering, water that has pH balancing for your body. And we talk about how it's good for diabetes and a variety of different things and how you lose weight. You know, all the things that has been touted like forever. In addition, there have been clearly some claims that were somewhat outrageous and not endorsed by the company, but made anyway by people who, for example, told that Dr. Warburg, Nobel Prize winner, great doctor of medicine and also of physiology and chemistry, he got a Nobel Prize. He didn't get the Nobel Prize for saying that cancer can't live in an alkaline environment. He got the Nobel Prize for elucidating that cancer cells have an anaerobic metabolism. Translated, it means they ferment rather than have oxidative phosphorylation. They produce low energy, but that's how they survive and multiply. And the metabolism produces an acidic product because it can't get rid of the lactic acid produced in metabolism, but cancer cells tolerate that, okay? Nothing to say about, if you're alkaline, cancer can't live, because it turns out everybody who dies of cancer is alkaline when they die. So there you go. Anyway, so it appealed to me that we ought to have some solid basis for making claims. So if you say it's an antioxidant and you come to me and you drop that ORP meter in and it is a negative 300, 400, 500, whatever it is, yes, that water in the jar is antioxidant, right? But does that translate to an antioxidant effect in your blood and in your body? No one ever knew that.
Okay.
It's assumed, but one of the issues always was the testing modality. The testing modality for antioxidant activity depends upon certain chemical and colorimetric tests, kind of a tongue twister. And these tests have trouble detecting a colorless liquid. You see? And water is colorless. So we never had any hard data. I went around and called several laboratories all over the country and got nowhere with them until I came upon a laboratory in Oregon that used living human red cells, which were deprived of antioxidants, to measure antioxidant activity. And bingo, I said, this is what we need to do. I went to Mr. Oshiro and I said I wanted some money. And of course, how much? And I couldn't exactly tell him because research is not cheap. But I felt if we could start answering some basic questions about human physiology in human tissue culture, okay, in a petri dish in the lab, and show that there is antioxidant activities in human red cells, that there is other activities in tissue culture, that would then allow us to be very certain that if we did living human being testing, that we could probably get some good results from it. So that's what happened in 2015. We started the first series of testing in tissue culture. That showed an unequivocal antioxidant effect in human red cells by Kangen water, 9.5, and actually stronger with the 11.5, which makes sense. Okay? And then also as a spin-off of that, we found that neutrophils, which are the scavenger cells, those are the cells mobilized when our body is attacked by a virus, by bacteria, by stress or whatever. These cells rush in and try to sort of, the firefighter, they try to put out the flames. And we found that water has a profound effect on subduing this anti-inflammatory effect, on absolutely reducing the inflammation. It reduces inflammation by not having that overwhelming reaction to information. And then as a unexpected effect, because the laboratory found a new testing modality for mitochondrial activity, we found that the mitochondria, which you can look at as the engine of the cell, that's where energy or sugar and other nutrients are converted to ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is what drives all of our cellular activity, from your heart to your lungs to your brain to your muscles to your nerve transmission to everything. That is upregulated, which means that if you have a substrate like glucose in your system, Kangen water makes that engine run better. Cranks up the RPM, puts out more power, revs up the torque, sort of. That's basically what it does. And that was the first series of tests. Based on that finding, I got the go-ahead and substantially more money from the company. And we did a test with 12, actually with 13, but 12 is the magic number for statistical purposes. And what we did was subject 13 young people living in a college town in Klamath Falls, Oregon, aged between 18 to 32, 33 years, male, female, mixed, healthy. Smokers were excluded, and these people were subjected to an exercise stress test. Standard tests, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, whatever, a total of 30 minutes. They were tested for serum lactate. They were tested for a variety of other things, red blood cell count, white blood cell count, and so on. And blood samples and serum samples were collected for further use and frozen. Here are the results. That the group was its own control. All members did 1 week consumption of tap water right from Klamath Falls, 3 liters a day, okay? And then went through the exercise challenge and had all of these things collected. Then they went home for a washout period of a week, and then they came back after drinking Kangen water, 9.5. And the results in how these people responded to stress with the Kangen water was quite dramatic. The Kangen water group had a marked increase in their red blood cell count with stress and exercise. Translated, greater oxygen carrying capacity, 12 to 14% higher red cell count. That's highly significant. That's what runners do when they train. They go to high altitudes so that they can increase their red cell production and then have a greater tolerance for oxygen deprivation with exercise. In addition, the Kangen group had a dramatic reduction in the inflammatory response, as, for example, achy joints, muscle aches, and so on. And that was also measurable. And then we had a psychological profile, and that's a standard American Psychiatric Association thing that is used to assess how people feel under stress, certain things. And it's considered a valid measure. And when they drank the Kangen water, they got over the joke much quicker. They didn't feel, stressed or achy or as long as prior, and just had a greater recovery time and overall reported a more positive experience. So that's in the book, the whole enchilada. It's a summary and the graphs and what have you. There are also some references that are of interest because, electrolyzed reduced water has tremendous applications in other things. Dialysis, for example. If you put electrolyzed reduced water with the appropriate minerals into the dialysis bath, the patients on dialysis do much better. They get a much better result. So there's a variety of things, and the permutations are mind-boggling as to what this can all do. What was now left to do was to analyze all the samples that we had done. And that's where the company stopped funding us. But they did say that I can sell the book and that from the proceeds we can fund the research, and that has been happening. There's no profit involved. I've made a not-for-profit corporation. Whatever money I get goes directly to the laboratory. I take no administrative fee, nothing. I take the postage out of it because we mail things all over the planet, basically. And as a result, we have now actually started that phase. And what we're doing now is we are testing cytokines and enzymes and other things involved around inflammation and stress. And I have preliminary results, and I'll just say that they're good. I'm not going to go into detail. I am quite certain I'll be able to have an official announcement in November at the Las Vegas meeting. And I think what we're trying to do is put this whole mystery of electrolyzed reduced water, ionized water, into a scientific, unassailable basis. So mind you, whatever we do, these are not medical claims, they're facts. They have been tested in a NIH-approved laboratory, in a laboratory with an impeccable reputation. And ultimately, when we get enough data, we expect to be published in peer-reviewed publications and continue the research. At least on my side of the equation, I will continue the research. How the company is going to react, I don't know. I think that we'll see. But clearly, I think this has taken the whole equation to a much higher level. We're not talking about, you drink the water and your hair grows back and all that. Those are irrefutable things that you can't prove one way or the other, but a blood test doesn't lie, and enzyme activity doesn't lie, and a laboratory with the quality controls that they have doesn't lie, because they are approved by the government regulating agencies for laboratories. So there you go. That's it.
Well, thank you. And this is an amazing book, and it's actually very, very affordable. I only paid $15 for it. So a lot of great information.
Overcharged.
What's that?
You were overcharged. I only charged 10.
Oh, really? Okay, so I got to ask for $5 back then.
Well, you guys get it through my website, which is ewa-usa.com. $10.
And this is it, guys. This is the Holy Grail. And Dr. Filtzer, sometimes I just wanted to ask you the proper way to research electrolyzed reduced water. So me helping someone else in researching it, I tell them to go to pubmed.gov, right, or Google Scholar and type in electrolyzed reduced water. Is that correct?
Absolutely. It's a great way. You're going to find at least 900 references on PubMed, and you can, sort of drill down on it a little bit, because every time you see a dialog box, when you go in there, you see another dialog box that suggests further research, further looks. And the thing about that is they have electrolyzed reduced water in a variety of applications, but not necessarily all human. And the conclusions you can draw from, say, mammals probably would apply to humans because we're similar. I'm not sure that, reptiles and amphibians and so on allow you to do the same thing. But it just gives you an idea that clearly this is no humbug. This is a real thing,
Mhm. And Dr. Filtzer, for those that don't have a machine or don't really understand what the machine does, can you just briefly explain what it does to the tap water?
Well, very simply, because of the electric charge, which I think is around 240 watts, there is a negative and a positive electrode, and it dissociates into ions the minerals within the water. If you take distilled water with zero minerals, all you get is hydrogen and oxygen, right? Because you can't ionize the stable compound. You do ionize the electrolytes within the water, and that produces on the positive terminal, it produces an acidic component that reacts acidically, and on the negative, it produces an alkaline component. And that is measured electrically by the ORP, the oxygen reduction potential. And the larger that is, the more active these ions are swimming around. But remember that this is a time sensitive issue because all reactions stimulated by electrolysis eventually go back to normal when the current is off. So that's when you drink your Kangen water fresh out of the machine, it has the greatest potency. If you drink it the next day, it's still pretty good, but by the second and third day, the activity is reduced. Make sense?
Yes, and actually, we always tell people if we're sharing water, the antioxidants are only good for up to 48 hours. So we always say that having the machine, you get the best therapeutic value when you're taking it straight out of the machine.
And I don't sell machines. Okay, I sell knowledge. I try to expand the knowledge. But I think if you're going to sell this product, you have a weapon. You have a method of telling people this is hardcore research and this works. It's
Mhm.
not in some obscure cloud or in some obscure publication. It's hardcore fact.
Yes, and Dr. Filtzer, if someone's on medication taking pills, is it safe for them to take their pills with with Kangen water?
The company suggests that you take it with neutral water, pH 7. I think there is no downside to that. I myself, I don't have time. I take 2 blood pressure pills now. I used to take 18. I take 2 blood pressure pills now daily with my morning 16-ounce glass, 9.5 water. I've never had any problem. The way medication is made these days, bye, I'll see you. Medication is made these days is that there is an envelope around all medications, capsules, tablets, and what have you. And that's called the vehicle. And the actual ingredient is buried within. And it's designed to be dissolved by the enzymes of your intestinal tract. The Kangen water, is not an enzyme. So I don't see how there can be any improper reaction, whether you take it with or without.
Okay, sounds good. And one last question, Dr. Filtzer. I know you got to run and you've been spending a lot of time with us, and I really do appreciate it. Um, is it possible? I've heard this many times before. If you can clarify, is it possible to be too alkaline? Like, is it by drinking this water, are we going to be too alkaline?
No, not by drinking this water. It is impossible. Flat out. What will happen if you drink too much water, which you can, it's possible, you don't get too alkaline. You, in fact, get water intoxication. And what that means is the water you drink, whether it's Kangen water or tap water, is dilute in relationship to our plasma. So you'll have 140 milliequivalents of sodium in your plasma and about 90 in the water. Now, when you drink too much water, you will dilute your serum plasma sodium. And when it gets below 120 milliequivalents, then it becomes a real risk for cardiac irritability, fibrillation, sinus arrhythmia, and even ventricular fibrillation. Also, it causes seizures in the brain, and it can kill you. There have been deaths reported from water drinking contests where people see how much water they can drink. Well, you can drink too much and it can kill you. That applies for Kangen water or tap water. But to become too alkaline is totally impossible because your lungs blow off extra carbon dioxide to adjust the pH. And then those kidneys, they really know what to do. So you gotta, it's not possible.
Okay.
Now, it's possible to become too alkaline with certain things like a milk alkali syndrome. In the old days, when they gave people a lot of alkali, sodium bicarbonate, magnesium, calcium carbonate to treat ulcer disease. But those are stable compounds. These have a long-lasting effect, and that can cause metabolic alkalosis, which can also be serious.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Oh, and I've almost forgot one last question. So a lot of times I hear different stories, I've met a lot of different people, and when I explain the water to them, you know, I hear different scenarios where they'll say, "Oh, I have a chlorine filter for my whole house. I don't need that. I have a water softener. I have reverse osmosis. I have a filter for my fridge." So this technology is something completely different. Is that correct?
Right, exactly. We have a filter, and the filter is designed to catch any really gross abnormalities like heavy metals and stuff like that. There's charcoal in there and so on. And that, whatever you have coming out of your water source, in case there is something, it gets that out. The other thing is there's this always recurrent question about fluoride. Now, fluoride is a bivalent atom. So what that means, it has positive and negative ability to connect with anything. And it's very difficult to get fluoride out of the system. But when you have the ionizer, your fluoride level gets split in half on the part that you drink, because the other part goes to the acidic side and is thrown away. So there is a benefit in if you need to reduce your fluoride. There are some states, particularly the Carolinas, where natural fluoride levels are high. And there is no such thing in this planet as to not have fluoride in the water. It's everywhere.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that up. And I just want to mention, we actually travel with our machine. We're able to bring it on the plane through customs, and we actually bring our water bottles in liquid form through customs and right onto the plane. And we have it is a certified medical device by Japan, by the Japanese Ministry of Health. Is that correct, Dr.
Yes.
Filtzer?
Yes, it is. I understand that it is. It's not in the US or Canada. However, if you have your doctor says it's okay for you to drink that water and that it is for your health, the airlines generally will acquiesce and let you bring it on board.
Yes, yeah, we've traveled a few times and we brought it on board and we've had no issues. But it's great to have it with us. And thank you so much for taking your time and talking to us little people here. And well, I hope to talk to you again and find out some more research on Kangen water, electrolyzed reduced water.
Well, look to November 2nd. It's going to be in Las Vegas, and I think we're going to have something good to tell you.
I'm going to be there with my wife, actually, so I'll see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. Good.
Perfect.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care.